Yo, what's up, everybody? Mike Watson in the building, and we're here for another episode of Chat and Draw. Who am I? You don't know who Mike Watson is? Let me tell you real quick, real fast. I'm the publisher of Short Fuse Media Group, the founder of Freestyle Comics, one half of the good, the bad, and the nerdy, also known as the most enthusiastic person in comics, going by the alias sometimes known as the Super Mad Brother. I'm Mike Watson. I'm your host here today and every day that we have Chat and Draw. And what is Chat and Draw? Chat and Draw is a pretty cool show where I chat and draw. What's the specifics of all that, Mike? That means that I bring a pretty awesome creator onto the show. I draw their character and I chat with them about their character because the character is awesome, because the creator is awesome, and we need people to know about these characters and the creator. Sometimes I do a fan edition episode where I'll bring a fan on and we'll draw their favorite character and talk about why they're their favorite character. And if you want to sign up for that, hit my Patreon page up for that. And we have the digital black and white and the color editions. Right now, below that little screen and in the comments, which I've already posted in there, this is the most prepared I've been for this episode ever. Yes. Check the comments for the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter's in the comics, and I got the Kickstarter down there. It's going across the board. All right. So last week we had Danny J. Quick on, and it was great and it was awesome. And now we are about to bring one of my favorite freaking people in comics. Matter of fact, just in all of life, one of my favorite people, just in general, not just comics. The ever awesome, the awesome, because she's awesome.
Here comes a new challenger,
Stephanie Menard.
The best. That was the best introduction. Oh my God. Oh, that was good. That was a good time. Hi, Mike.
Hello, Stephanie. How are you?
I'm much better now. I mean, between that amazing intro that you just gave me and the intro to your show, love it.
Oh yeah. Man. You made the reel. You're in there a couple times.
Yay! I made the reel. Life is good, man.
So Stephanie's here again. We are promoting her awesome Kickstarter, and the best way to promote the Kickstarter, well, we're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the book. We're going to talk about the character she's got us drawn today. But the best way you can help promote is asking us questions live. We will answer those questions, but also giving us a share, giving her Kickstarter a share. And if you can spare the money, give her Kickstarter a donation. I heard that this woman has hit her goal. So congratulations on hitting your goal.
Thank you very much. Yes. And we're working on our second stretch goal right now. So we're moving on up.
Okay, all right. So let's not waste any time. All right, guys and gals watching right now, it's going across the bottom of the screen, and we got it in the comments. Tell us about this Kickstarter. What's happening? Hold on, because I got my second issue. I got that. Ooh, yeah, signed.
Beautiful.
And I've already donated, so I'm waiting for my third. So tell us about this Kickstarter and what do you have going on with this Kickstarter? What are we getting?
Well, it's for issue 3 out of a 4-issue arc. And I try to keep this one kind of simple where, we've got a lot going on in the world and, it's a hard time out there for a lot of people. So I just wanted to keep it really simple. The rewards are really simple. We have a couple of variant covers. We have a really cool enamel pen that was designed by Misty Bondi, and I love it. It's gorgeous. And so this issue is essentially like the last big lead up to the finale in issue 4. So we're kind of digging in a little bit deeper to the relationship between the parents and the kids, kind of digging into the relationship between Philip and Father Time, or the guest that's in the basement, and how they're becoming closely connected. So this issue has some blood and gore, and then it also has a lot of levels of adding into those relationships and seeing why they're so divisive and why they butt heads, and why Philip and Father Time are like becoming BFFs. So it's pretty cool.
Awesome. So what are some of the stretch goals that you have going on with this? Because you said you just hit one of them. You're going for your second stretch goal right now.
Yeah. So the first one is I'm adding a 1-page story, just like a prose story to the end of the comic. We did that with the first 2, and it just adds a little dimension to the story. And then our second one's going to be a sticker. I haven't decided. I usually do a panel. Like I pick my favorite panel and I make it into a sticker. So I haven't decided yet which one I'm going to do, but as soon as I figure it out, I'm going to post it and share that around. And then beyond that, I always kind of play, like I always plan out like my first 2 or 3 stretch goals, and then I play it by ear. So that's really as far as I've gotten. And then once we hit number 2, I'll figure out number 3 really quickly and make it happen.
Awesome. So I'm on your Kickstarter page right now. This is awesome. I'm loving all the experimental stuff here on the table. That perspective right there where we're looking through the silhouette, super dope. I'm digging that a lot. Liking what you got going on with these pages. And look at this. This brings us right to the lady that we're drawing here today.
Yes.
Isabel. Am I pronouncing Isabel or Isabella?
Isabel.
Isabel.
Yep.
All right. So tell us about her.
Ooh, okay. So she's the matriarch of the family. She's, the mom. And when I first came up with, the story, she was actually pretty demure, and she was going to be submissive in the relationship with her husband. And as I started writing it, Isabel was like, no.
Whoa, she said no?
Yeah, Isabel told me no. Like as I was writing her, she definitely became such a I started writing her as being kind of weak, and I'm just like, I'm not buying this. It's not believable in what I'm writing, and because Isabel was telling me she needed to be a badass, and kind of like she was like, I need to be the one in charge. So Isabel's very she takes no shit. She does have a very soft spot for her kids, obviously. Like family means a lot to her, but she doesn't take shit. She'll do pretty much anything for her kids, though, even though they're all twisted and screwed up and like plotting to like overthrow her at certain points during this. She's like, well, we'll just get him in line, but we're not really going to like do anything harmful to him. She loves them. So she's the matriarch of the family. She kind of holds everything together. And Anton, her husband, he's basically he's devoted to her, and he's a strong character too, but he listens to her and will kind of give her the reins and let like whatever she says goes. Ultimately. So that's what I kind of love about her. Like she definitely changed as I was writing, from the outline to the character descriptions to actually writing the script. She became more of a loud voice and more of a dominant voice, and I'm glad. I think it worked out really well.
So why do you think that happened? Wait, shout out to Daniel Calvin. Looks like he just backed it and shared it. Thank you so much, Daniel.
And Daniel's against fascism. Woo! That's also good. Yay!
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So, why do you think it is that she became more dominant? Was that what you had asked me?
Yeah. So you say, and I know you said this on the show before, when I've talked to you, you say that she said no to you. She took over. So if you want to kind of talk into that, like how the character took control, what about it made you change the course and path for her?
Well, I know it's silly, and I've talked about this before, when I've discussed my writing. Like, I'll start off thinking one way about a character and I'll start writing it, and then all of a sudden, as I'm writing it, the character changes. Their path changes, parts of their personality change, and it's almost like they're writing themselves at that point, because they're coming through, like, I'm just the conduit and they're telling me, like, this is what it needs to be. So for her, yeah, it was just kind of like, as I was writing her just being kind of too chill and laid back, and like not having more of a large role in how the family was run and how things were taken care of. It just didn't work for her. And she said no. And I said no. And we fixed that. We changed it.
So do you think that when things like that happen with you as a creative or with your characters, that you might be writing something that's similar to your life and you don't realize it, and it kind of just like kind of kicks in, you're like it just plays in your head, and you're like, that's not how I would have handled it. Like that's like maybe something you wish you would have handled differently, or did something dumb, change what you did yourself. Does any of that kind of play into it?
It does, for sure. With her, I don't really think that was the case, only because usually I'm pretty aware if I'm putting something of my own will, or like of something into the character. It was just the way she was envisioned, I guess. When I envisioned her, she was very different. And then when I started writing her on paper, she definitely it didn't make sense. It didn't work. And, so yeah, I'm glad that I made her. I mean, she's kind of mean, but like, she's kind of had a chaotic life. And part of the bonus story and the first issue kind of explains where her and Anton came from, and how they struggled before they came here and are where they are. So, and we're talking about something that happened hundreds of years ago. So she's definitely developed an attitude.
Okay.
She's a little sassy.
All right. So, because I think some of that stuff comes into play and we don't even realize it, or there's just a situation that might have happened where we wish we did it different, or we look at a situation like, man, I would totally do this in this situation. Or maybe, you've seen something happen with this character again and again. You're just like, you know what? No, that's not going to work. Like I see a pattern developing. And that's really awesome. When your characters take control. And I know that's like a thing that happens with writers. That the more and more you write, you're like, this doesn't fit with what this character wants. And I think
Right.
that builds really good characters that we care about here, or that we end up caring about, whether it's you really dislike them or not. Shout out Andy. What's up, man? How you doing?
Hi, Andy.
Now, remember, we are here talking about a pretty awesome Kickstarter. The link is in the comments on Twitch and on Facebook. And it is also tickering down there at the bottom. Now, I understand times are hard. Everybody doesn't have a lot of money right now. We're going through a pandemic. Absolutely get it. If you cannot donate, that's okay. But take note, even $1 helps. But at the very least, share this to your social media. Share it to your network. Let other people know about it, because this is a pretty good story. I will admit it's outside of my wheelhouse, but I have been enjoying it, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to get Stephanie to write Vigilance, which she is the ongoing writer for. Now, when Stephanie sent this character over to me, I got chills because the images she sent me looked like a classic anime scene where the character snaps. Actually, because I've been seeing these online. You remember when the anime character has glasses and then they push them up and they like glow white because it just got serious. That's what that dang face looks like to me. Let me show everybody here. Like, it's that moment, like, oh, you didn't fucked up.
Right. I know. I love that image of her, because it's just like, so it's like the angles of her face and the lighting, and just like, she just looks so dangerous,
Yes.
Like, you do not want to mess with her. And I absolutely love that art of her. She looks awesome.
So I wanted to definitely capture something like that with what I'm doing here, but I felt like she was very obviously wealthy, very ritzy, but at a moment, like she could be having a casual conversation about baking cake, but cutting someone's arm off in the same thread. Uh,
Yes, definitely. I mean, just because she's classy doesn't mean that she won't shank a bitch. You know,
right.
you know how it is.
Absolutely.
Like, we all have those moments where if we had questionable morals, we might have shanked somebody. But luckily, we're good people who don't do things like that.
Luckily.
I just write about them because it's fun.
It's your outlet.
Right. It's, when I get angry or whatever, I write violence or bloody, gory stuff. But, I think that there's more to horror than just the anger and the blood and gore and all of that. I really love horror. And I keep saying this and I'll continue to say it. There's so much humanity in horror. There's so many, like, and those are my favorite horror movies or horror stories, are ones that have that are based in human emotion as opposed to like a hack and slash. Mm-hmm. So, with this series, it was the first time I was able to write a comic series that had as much humanity in it as it does. And I definitely tried my hardest to really put that heart, even though these are characters that you maybe necessarily shouldn't identify with or have empathy for. I tried to give them those emotions, like, for the reader, because I think it's important. I mean, you can't hate everybody that you're reading about, because if so, then are you going to keep reading it? Right. They're all terrible. That's going to, so there are moments for, I think, all of these characters, even after they've done something that's so horrible, that I've made them, made people be able to read it and at least have some sort of empathy for why they are the way that they are. And that's, I think, it's my favorite part of writing horror, is that I write these characters that do such screwed up things, and they're so out of like what I would do, obviously, in life. But I think that people are able to connect with those characters because there's more to it than just, it's a bunch of people just going on murder sprees, and there's a depth to it, and it's fun to write too. I'm not gonna lie. Not gonna lie about that. It's good times.
Well, it's definitely supposed to be good times. You're supposed to enjoy the character, and I sometimes struggle while reading comics, manga, watching TV or anime. I sometimes struggle with trying to figure out, do I really hate this character because I'm supposed to hate this character, or do I hate this character just because this character is just a complete trash character, or did or the person wrote them just didn't do their job? Like Dolores Umbridge, I absolutely love to hate her, but like, she's written perfectly evil. She's the person you're supposed to hate. Right. There's other characters and stuff like that as well, and then there's other ones. I'm sitting here watching TV and I'm like, the character's just fucking trash. I don't like them at all. And it's not because I'm not supposed to like them. It's just like they're so cookie cutter. And I think, and all that to say, that's where I'm getting around with your characters, that they don't seem cookie cutter, that there's a lot of weight to them, and they're interesting because they have these things going on, and like, you're supposed to not like them, and that's fine, but at the same time, you're still intrigued. You're still trying to see what's going on with these characters and what's happening to them. So that's a hard thing to pull off.
It is. I agree. And that's what editors are for. Thank you, Leah Letterman. I love you.
So, what do you do? Any research for something like that? Are there other writers that you study up on and you're like, I love how they do this, so I apply it to my stuff? What up, J-Man? Shout out, J-Man. How you doing, man? Thank you so much for that. Andy says, Mike, when is Steph's first issue of Vigilance coming out? Anna wants to know. She loves Vigilance. She loves female creators. She wants to come to the shows again and talk to Steph and become a better creator than me because I'm her lame-ass dad.
Good. See, Anna's a smart girl.
Hey, Anna's on it. I love Anna. She's a sweetheart. The Vigilance issue is coming out very soon. We had a technical issue, which is my fault completely. And we lost half the issue. So Stephanie is begrudgingly right in the other half of it again. We took a lot of notes and we had a lot of conversation on it. We already know what's going to happen, so it shouldn't take too long to get back up there. But we are getting a new artist on the book, and Danny Cooper and I are very picky about which artists we put on Vigilance. We wanted to be able to capture Vigilance as a person. And the story that Stephanie is narrating. Well, Stephanie, you tell them about the story. What story are you crafting here with Vigilance?
Well, when we first started talking, while we discussed giving Vigilance more depth and how you wanted to create and build up this character. Well, she's already been created, but to build her up to have a really great, deep and many layered personality, and to be able to see the changes and watching her come to terms with certain things that are going on in her life. And so that is what we're doing with these next several issues. Is kind of, you're going to see a lot of introspection, a lot of her dealing with some of the tragedies and craziness that have happened in her life, and how she's coming to terms with them, and how she applies certain things, as they come, and as she changes her mind about certain things. I mean, there's just a lot of depth being added, I think. And that's, it's fun to do that with a superhero story, because I think a lot of times people don't necessarily, I mean, and this is just my opinion, I don't know, I don't read a lot of superhero stuff anymore. I used to, but now it's mostly horror, but I think that sometimes there's people go really simple with like the main, oh God, what's the word I'm looking at? The main conflict that the superhero's having. It's like, we're just trying to do something a little bit different, and just kind of really make her even more badass than she already is.
I would say that's it right on the nail. I think once you get the first 3 pages of the story, you're going to automatically be you're going to be in, like, oh shoot, let's go, because I think it's very intriguing. I think, and Stephanie is very good with characters, and this journey that Vigilance is going on, it is a character story. Yes, don't worry, she is going to punch some things in the face, but it's time for us to discover who she is underneath the cape, and what she's going to be besides that. J-Man says, I want more women in comic book creations, writing and drawing. To see and read a woman's perspective to storytelling, we need more diversity. It's not just a man's world. J-Man in the building. You're absolutely right, man. Absolutely right. And I know people dislike when I say this, and I really don't care, but I am looking for a female artist for Vigilance, and the right female artist for it, because I know there are women out here making comic books. I just don't know all of them, and I don't think enough of them get enough shine. And I think we need to put more light on that, and they need more books and stuff to be working on so people can see and find them.
Absolutely. It's and I know a lot of really talented artists. Not all of them working though necessarily in comics, just art in general. And they're some of my favorite people on the planet. And I agree. I love getting a woman's perspective, especially when it comes to something like superheroes or horror or something, or even like anything actiony, because I feel that that's not necessarily what I've seen a lot of female writers do. And I think that there's space for that. There's space to see that those areas grow and have more women creators work on them and really give, a different perspective. And, and one of the things too that diversity is really important. I think that the people who work in comics should reflect the world around us. So it should never just be one type of person writing comics. It takes all kinds. So let's, be diverse and get all these stories out. But what I've always thought for myself was the most important was to be just the best writer I can be, regardless of whether I'm a woman or not. Like I want to write from all perspectives. I want to write, I've had male leads in stories, and been told that I've written them like they were believable male characters, and I'm like, well, that's really good because obviously I'm not a dude. I know a lot of dudes, but writing from my own perspective, I wouldn't necessarily be able to create a believable male character necessarily. So I just try to be the best writer overall, and try not to focus too much on like what gender I'm writing, just whatever's right for the story, as long as it's believable and it's well written, then I'm a happy camper.
Right. And so, yeah, and that's, because Stephanie can write, and there's going to be other people, other sexes in the book that I know she's going to be able to handle. But this book is really, and I think and Stephanie can answer for herself, but I think it intrigued her because it's like it's a mental saga. This next 4-part story arc is a mental issue. Like, it's really dealing with some stuff and some things that are up her alley. So I think it's fun for her to play with that.
Oh, it really, I mean, honestly, it was, and like you said, in the first 3 pages, it grabs you, it really does. And I think what I loved so much about, like, do you remember how nervous I was when I started?
Yeah.
Do you remember how like scared I was when I said, okay, I'm going to write this superhero story. I'm going to try, but I'm nervous, I was so scared because for me, that's out of my wheelhouse. But then, after really thinking about it, and, we had talked and you wanted more of the way that I typically write things to be put into that world. So I was like, well, then why am I so scared? If I have questions about the action sequences, I know who to talk to. I've got resources. If I don't feel like I can write them well enough, I can always hit you up. You're always willing to chat me up about anything, which is awesome. And I appreciate that. So, I was so afraid. And then once I started writing it, it was just kind of like,
right.
kind of fell out,
Yeah. She said, all right, well, I'm gonna write the first 3 pages, Mike, and then you let me know, sink or swim. Be honest with me 100%. If after that you don't want me to write it, then I won't. My feelings won't be hurt.
Right.
Like, I read those first 3 pages. I said, yeah, you're the ongoing writer from now on.
I was waiting for him to be like, no, you trash. Like, I know it seemed like a good idea at the time, but we're gonna be moving on.
No, she absolutely nailed it, and and for me, as I love the action in comic books, but what Stephanie did with some of the quiet moments in this book, I love even more. I know that's like, it's like, with indie books, it's hard to get those out or whatnot and have people waiting for it, but I think it's so worth it. Like, it's when it's written this way. But let's see here. And I got completely sidetracked. So when you are writing these moments for these characters, do you have any inspirations that you lean on that try to help you create the depth in these characters?
Well, that's my dog. Don't mind my dog, guys. She's old. She's going to be 15 at the end of the month, and she barks at nothing. So I don't know. I've always been a big fan of the way Stephen King develops characters. Huge fan of his writing, obviously. Also Clive Barker. And the big difference, I think, in the way that they create characters is that they both put in this really great vulnerability, but I think Clive Barker is a little bit more crass and a little bit more, gosh, I don't even know what the word, not even crass, because I don't think it's crass. I think it's just like he puts more of our base human emotions into these but these characters are they're complex, but like Stephen King, we get a lot of their vulnerable, we get more of those quiet moments like you were talking about. We get a lot of the introspection, and we get a lot of the backstory of why these characters are the way that they are. And so between Clive Barker and Stephen King, I mean, I grew up reading him, so it's hard to sometimes read something that I've written and go, I mean, I can see that like one of them, like I'm channeling one of them sort of in certain aspects. So I think when I was writing Vigilance, it was definitely more of like a Stephen King type just the way that he writes. It's obviously not horror. So I'm not trying, we're not changing up the book. It's still a superhero, but, you know, and especially after we had talked about, you know, developing her and making her have all those layers, it was very, I think I leaned on all those years of, reading those beautiful characters by Stephen King.
Okay. All right. Let's hit some of these comments. Let's see. Haley. Hey, Haley, how you doing? Says, how do you get through writer's block? And shout out Dave Brown. Thank you, man, for joining us.
Ooh, writer's block. I hate that. I mean, I think we all do. Nobody's like, ooh, I've got writer's block and like celebrates it. At least I hope they don't. Gosh, I guess, I mean, the simplest thing to do, I think, when you have writer's block, like say you're working on one project and you hit a wall and you're like, I don't really know where to go from here. Instead of not writing anything at all, maybe even if it's just a paragraph, write something else. Even writing a list of like things that make you like just making sure that you're writing something every day. And even if it takes you a week to get back to your project, as long as you're practicing some type of writing every day, I think that it keeps you focused on, it keeps your mind working. And I think that it helps to kind of crash through the barriers that do occur. Because I mean, it does happen. Even if you fully outlined a story, you know, you could come to a point where it's like, how do I transition from this plot point to this plot point and not make it seem jarring? Or, you know, there's a lot of things that you can run into that make it just makes you freeze.
Yeah.
So, but I think, you know, and I think that's the same. And you can tell me if this is true, Mike. If for artists, I think if you're working on something and you get stuck, like, don't stop doing art. Just maybe move to something different or do a little sketch, or, you know, just keep being creative, but maybe just walk away from that project for a minute and let your brain just kind of reset. And I promise you'll get through it. I always get through it, and I get it quite a bit. So, and I've been writing now. I've been doing this for 5 years, almost 6. So and I'm put out a lot of stuff. So if I can crash through those walls, I know everybody can. Because I'm a procrastinator too, as you know. I mean, but it is what it is, you know.
And I think everybody's a bit of a procrastinator, so I think we got it all in there. But yeah, sometimes I'll step away from something, or else I'll draw something else, or I'll look at one of my favorite artists and try to get some inspiration from that one out. Or, you know, sometimes you just gotta walk away from it for, you know, a few minutes and come back to it.
Right.
Let's see. Jay says everyone needs to learn from the late great Prince, he gave women a ton of opportunities in his music making and putting them before himself at times.
And he did. I mean, if you look at, okay, I'm going to say this and I'm going to get so much hate. I'm not a huge Prince fan.
Mm-hmm.
I think that he was extremely musically talented. I'm not knocking his talent. This is not a talent knock. And I did really appreciate the way he approached music, and, you know, definitely the diversity that he had in with, like he said, you know, having women in the spotlight, sometimes even over himself. Like, I always appreciated him as a performer. I'm not like one of those people who is, because a lot of my friends are, and I always get shit for it. And I'm like, I'm not saying I dislike Prince. I'm just like, I'm not like as much of a Prince fan as like everybody else in the world seems to be, you know. But I agree with that. I think, you know, using any of us that, you know, have a spotlight on us, we should definitely give opportunities to people, talented people, regardless. You know, put those opportunities, use what you have to give opportunities to other talented people and uplift other people. And, you know, in comics, there's a lot of men in comics. It's definitely more of a man's thing, but there are so many wonderful women working in comics that, you know, that maybe we don't see as much We don't see him spotlighted as much. But I think that that's starting to change. I think we're starting to see the tides turn, and we're getting a lot more powerful like editors working for like the big two that are women, and just I think we're starting to see a change, and I think that's good.
Yes, I would agree as well. I went for Dear Creative for like I think 4 or 5 weeks. I went out just like seeking out to get female creatives on the show, just so I could expand my audience and know more about it or whatnot, but so other people can see them as well. But they are definitely out here. I'm seeing them in my time stream, and getting to see these females work, and becoming friends with them or whatnot. Now I'm seeing their circles and who they're working with and stuff like that as well.
Yeah, no, like one of the best collaborations that I got to work on and be a part of was Cafe Mccobb, which is a horror collection that was published by Source Point Press, and it's all women. So all women writers, all women artists, and everybody, like I wrote a story, and then an artist did like a piece of art to go with my story, and likewise with all the other writers and artists. So, Kaylin Smith did the cover. It's a very, very cool. My editor, Leah Letterman, put it all together and wrote several stories for it. And it was such a cool thing to collaborate with all of these creative women, because it was my first time doing something that was just a ton of women,
Mhm.
like it was a very different experience, and I enjoyed every second of it. And I really thought these women showed a whole different side of what horror is and what it can be. And I highly recommend checking it out. It's Source Point Press on their website. If you like horror, it's all women. So I've got a story that was actually based on a true trauma that happened in my life. So I did use something from my life in this story,
Okay.
and it was a very cathartic thing for me to write. And I'm very proud of the work that all of these women did. And so definitely check that out. But yeah, I think it's, when you get to be in a different kind of space, it's like working, I don't know, I guess, like if I went from working with like only people who wrote horror to working with only people who wrote like comedies, it's just a different type of experience.
Yeah.
And it was very enjoyable, and I love those ladies. So cheers to them.
Nice.
I'm
Nice.
drinking 6:30 p.m. rosé because that's how my life is right now.
Hey, and you get to do that.
Yep. I'm not going anywhere. So
No judgments. You're at home. You're kicking it on Chat and Draw. You're good.
Mhm.
All right. So what do we got next? What do we got? Haley wants to know, what's your process for creating a character? I think I get too focused on trying not to fall into any tropes, moody, broody male lead, hyperactive pixie girl, typical bad boy, etc., that I get stuck on the creation of my characters.
I totally understand. And I've specifically wrote stories with the manic pixie type character because I was playing into the trope. So I think if it depends, if you're writing a story on purpose to purposely play into some type of trope and you're using that, then that's great. And even if you're not, sometimes, I mean, there's only so many different types of people in the world, and all you can really do is nuance them, as you write them. So you can start off with a general, like, okay, this character is loosely going to be like this, and it could be a stereotypical type of character design, but you have to start from somewhere. So I don't think it's bad necessarily to start from that point. What I usually do is I usually have the story itself is what kind of guides how the characters are going to be. So with Aeonian, I already knew that, so the story is about a family that wants to live forever. So I started off with that whole theme, and I'm like, okay, so, we're going to have the parents and we're going to have some kids. And they started off kind of very stereotypical.
Mhm.
And as I got to starting to write the script, they again develop themselves a lot more. And I actually dropped a lot of these original notions of what they should be as the world developed. And so I don't know, I think it's different when you're writing something for a comic than when you're writing prose, because in comics, like we have to write kind of we have to put a lot of information in as little words as possible. So, when you're writing prose, you can just, the more words, the better, right? As long as they're not redundant, like you're good. So I think, again, starting from, even if you start from a stereotypical point, as you put these, 2D characters into this 3D universe that you're creating, they're going to change, because that's just, I mean, at least in my experience, that's the dynamic that I've had as I write. And I don't know if it's the same. I don't think it's the same for everyone, but having a starting point is good, but just always make sure that whoever they are as a character, it shouldn't be like, I have to write it like this because it has to be like this. Because I think when we put ourselves in that box, like it has to be this, then I think we lose a lot of creative flow, and you can lose part of, like, the story might change as you write it and the characters might change as you write it. And that's usually for the better. So don't necessarily pigeonhole yourself as you're writing a character, like they have to be this certain way. Just always be flexible. And, even if you start from a trope, I think, again, they'll develop as they are placed into that universe. I hope that was helpful.
I think that was extremely helpful. Niobe Comics wanted to stop by and just say hi to you, Stephanie.
Hi. Thanks for stopping by and saying hello. I appreciate it.
Bob Sally joined us. Shout out to Bob.
Hey, Bob. Heather
Mendenau, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, joined us as well. All right. Let's see what's next. What's next here? All right. Andy says, Steph, as a woman in the horror industry, do you feel there is an over-sexualization of females, not limited to just women, but girls as well, in the horror genre? Do you feel like there is a way around it, or are we stuck in Scream Queen mode?
Well, it really just depends, because there are, horror movies that are supposed to play on those tropes. So you're going to have your Scream Queens, and you're going to have, those things playing out in the horror universe. But I think, as far as the way that I tend to write characters, that type of character isn't very interesting to me, because I think it's very easy to just say, okay, she's going to be kind of stupid and she's going to get naked and then she's going to die. It's like, it just kind of feels like you're throwing that character away, which is why I kind of, and I mean, I'm not saying that never is going to happen or has never happened in my writing, but it's something I tend to avoid, because I'm okay with over-sexualization. If it fits the story, and it's not just a cheap throwaway thing, then I'm all for it. If you're using it to make your story seem like it's better than it actually is, you're like, oh, but we've got, nudity. So, you should definitely check this out. Well, then I just feel like that you're using it as a prop. But if it's
okay,
like, make it as sexualized as you want, as long as it makes sense to your story, go for it. I don't think that, as a woman, I love boobs. I love all of these things. So, like, I'm not offended by it. I'm not going to write, like I said, I'm not going to write like a Scream Queen type character that is just there to be naked and killed off. I feel like that's just lazy writing, in my opinion. And I don't want to be a lazy writer. So there you have it.
There you have it. All right. Does she bark at nothing, or is she barking at ghosts? Oh, Andy asking about your dog.
Well, who knows? I don't think that there are ghosts in my house. I feel like I would have been attuned to that. I've been here for like 10 years. So, who knows? She's just old.
I hate when that question gets asked, because then I'm sitting here thinking, like, what is you fucking barking at?
Right.
Like, is something there?
Right.
You swatting at the air and stuff, like,
yeah. I'm like, she's got a cataract. I don't think she can see very well at all, let alone see ghosts. I just think she's old.
Oh, that's a little too big.
She's looking awesome, by the way.
Thank you very much. Another reason why I enjoy having you on here is because you give me different characters from superheroes, so I'm challenged to figure out how to draw these characters because I want them to look cool as hell, and I want it to be something viable that you can actually use as well for your book.
She looks like she is super chill. She's just like I'm loving the pose. I'm loving the giant necklace. I'm feeling that. I love it.
Well, thank you. I got a little surprise in here because I already sketched this up, so I got something in here that I'm gonna drop in here that little bonus.
Woohoo!
So we'll see how it plays out. But all right, let's get back to the questions. Daniel says writer block sucks. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
And Heather says, love watching you do art. Brad says hi. Oh, hey, what's up? Okay, now I know who that is. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Andy said, I celebrated writer's block. Means I get more drawing done.
There you go.
Yeah, Andy does drawing and he writes. Daniel says, I'm also a procrastinator, unfortunately. And I think we all got a little bit of that. Short Freeze and myself just posted the Kickstarter for Stephanie again. So again, be sure to share that, donate $1 or donate on one of these awesome tiers that she has. Again, we understand money's tight. If you guys can't donate, you could at least share. That'd be the nice thing to do because she's a nice person. Help her out here.
Even just sending me like positivity through, like, just send me positive energy. I would love that too.
Oh,
I don't even like back my Kickstarter. Don't back it. Just send me some positive energy, and life is good, man. We need to share that positivity with each other.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. All right. So next up, we got J-Man says, do you have a hard time at moments trying to write something original in the horror genre? Because there's so much out there. I know you wouldn't want to be too close to another writer or artist's work. I myself really like old school horror.
Yeah. I mean, I think, and that's again why I try to stay away from like slasher type stuff, even though like I know a lot of people, and it's harder too, I think, to write something that good as a comic. Like if I was writing a movie, I think writing a really clever slasher would be a lot of fun. But there are tropes in any genre. And I think that as long as we recognize their tropes, like they're gonna, at some point, are gonna hit one or two of them in anything that you write, in the horror genre, in the action genre, superheroes, comedy, like we're gonna hit those. But just because you might use a little bit of something that already exists, as long as what you're creating is unique to your own style and unique to how you think. I mean, I don't think that you can go wrong that way. I mean, like I said, again, you're always going to see something that you've seen done before. There's only like 5 stories they say that you can tell, and something like that. It's like 5 or 7.
Yeah.
I can't remember the number, but what makes the difference is, honestly, as I use a lot of what I've experienced in my life. So that's why we need such diversity in art and writing, because those experiences are what will make your writing different, even if you do have to use a trope or two because you're working within a genre. So, I just try to use stuff that's happened in my life and that I've witnessed, and, use this big, beautiful brain of mine to create some really cool stuff, and hopefully people like it. That's it.
I think that's all we can do at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind using a trope or two. I think tropes are cool when they're used, sparsely, I guess. Or you use them to throw people off and trip them out with something else.
Right. And if you're using it intentionally, like, that's cool too, because you're like leaning into it, you're like, okay, this trope is like Like, so in horror, it's always like the chick who has sex gets killed first. So if you're leaning in hard on that, like lean in hard, do it. There are tropes for a reason. And as long as it's not, again, just something like we were talking about with the whole nudity thing, as long as it's not just like a cheap throwaway thing that you're doing so that you can be like, oh, well, in my comic or in my story, this happens and it's a classic horror trope, like don't use that to sell your product, I guess.
Yeah. I think sometimes creators forget that tropes are quick ways for us to associate with characters, because you may not have time to go into the backstory like they do in mangas or TV shows. Like, you may only have this person for those 22, 32 pages, and you need them to understand what type of character this is out the gate so you can tell the more important parts of the story.
Exactly. No, and that's so true too. Like starting off from a trope and then developing the things that need to be developed to make that character unique. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. You're starting off with a generic, thing, and slowly kind of like, it's like what you're doing right now. You started off with, a very loose drawing, and now you're inking it, you're putting in some detail. And as when it comes to the end, it's a complete portrait. So if you think about it in that same way, you can start with, a cookie cutter character and develop it as you go along.
Right. Absolutely agreed. All right, what else do we have here? Haley says, very helpful, Stephanie. Thank you.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Looking great, Mike. Thank you, Daniel. Andy wants to know, Mike would not do well in the manor. We totally have ghosts, not just ghost chicken, not the ghost chicken poltergeist. Yeah, not at all. Mike is not ashamed to admit that he's a punk when it comes to scary stuff. All right. I mean, there's the video game Doom is out. That game looks amazing. Like, it looks like it's so much fun. It's graphically crazy looking, and I'm not going to play it because it's about hell. So. Not doing it.
and those games are scary. They are scary. So yeah, if that's not your jam, do not play it.
Yeah, I'm not trying to do it. And I keep looking at it like, damn, that game looks so good. Well, that's just an experience I'm not going to get to have.
When I play it, I'll relay how it felt to play it, and that way you don't have to, you're not missing out, but you don't also have to be really scared.
Oh, all right. I
got your back.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much. All right. So Haley says, I'm both a procrastinator and a perfectionist. It's a mean circle.
Oh, it totally is. It really, really is. Especially wanting to be a perfectionist. Like, I had to give up on that a long time ago, because if I kept on going down that road of being a perfectionist, then I don't think I ever would have started self-publishing. To be honest, I would have been like, I never would have thought that anything that I wrote was good enough. And that fear would have held me back, from putting myself out there. And I mean, that's what started this career for me, was self-publishing, doing it all on my own, starting my own company, paying for all the art out of pocket, building myself up from literally no one. And I mean, I'm still only like a little bit higher than that. But you know what I mean? Like, I think if I had stayed a perfectionist, I mean, I was definitely still a procrastinator, but that whole perfectionist thing, it's like, sometimes we have to let that go, because I feel like once I did that, I was able to really build my, my career and write more and get more things out there than I ever would have.
Mm-hmm.
I would have stopped myself. And I think that we're our own worst enemies, and we got to stop that. We have to trust ourselves a little bit, Have faith in yourself, man.
And you actually just launched another podcast, right? Like a 14-minute review one?
Yeah, I just launched 15 Minutes of MAME, which is a horror movie review show. So it's a short podcast. It's going to be between 12 and 15 minutes once a week. And we review horror movies. It's just me doing it. And what I call the Netflix challenge, which is what I challenged myself to do. Nobody else challenged me. And I don't think it's a real thing. I made it up. So, well, you know, I had watched so many horror movies and I was getting mad. I'm like, oh, there's like no scary movies to watch. And I was like, no, that's not true. I'm just being really judgy and all these look like trash. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to go to the horror section on Netflix and I'm going to watch every single movie in a row unless I've already seen it.
Okay.
And I started doing that just for fun. I'm in a horror group on Facebook. I think it's called Everything Horror or something like that. I love horror, something like that. And I was just doing like mini reviews in there and I was like, wait a minute, I could definitely do a podcast and it would be a lot of fun because I know a lot of people who I would love a short review show, you know, so that way people like, they're like, hey, okay, well, you know, we've got Netflix, we've got Hulu, we've got this, what should I watch on Netflix or whatever tonight? So you listen for 10 or 15 minutes, you get some reviews and you can decide if any of them sound worthy. And that's pretty much what it is. And it's fun for me because I get to watch horror movies and do a little bit of homework. So yay.
Excellent. J-Man says, I love Stephen King, excuse me, and Clive Barker, but today they are not so relevant like they used to be. I'm not a fan of Hollywood remaking a classic horror movie story, and Hollywood rips apart. The original vision was wiped clean, and what we see on the screen is hot garbage.
Now, you know, so I have, you know, sometimes there are movies that they do a really good job of like updating, but I feel like that's the rarity. I feel like most times if they reboot or remake a movie, they're taking the spirit of that story away. And yeah, Clive Barker and Stephen King. Yeah. I mean, I think I get what you're saying where, you know, that's some more, they might not be as relevant, but like, I mean, I'm obsessed with Edgar Allan Poe and H.P. Lovecraft. Those guys are dead and they're dead as hell. And they still influence how I write. You know what I mean? So I don't know if when it comes to writing, if anything can really kind of go out of style. It really just depends on what inspires you. I mean, it might not be the popular thing or whatever, but I think, you know, if it inspires you to write and it's still relevant for you, then hey, run with it. I mean, right. I'm going to be writing some Lovecraftian stuff till the day I die. So, I mean, and the main reason I love H.P. Lovecraft is because he left enough to your imagination that you basically, he gets you to mess yourself up while you're reading his stories. Like, he gets you to literally mess yourself up in your own head. Like, that's talent. Just saying.
I feel it.
That is why people, I think, still love him and his work. As far as I have read, I don't know if he was the greatest person on the planet.
Right. But
his writing, since I never met him and I can't because he's dead. Hey, did I mention H.P. Lovecraft is dead?
No, not yet. No, not really.
Well, he's dead, just in case.
Okay.
But yeah, since I don't have to meet him, I can separate. Normally, I can't separate art from the person, which I know some people can do. I usually can't because I'm like, I can't appreciate that person's art in the same way if I know they're a bad person. But I'll never meet him. And I don't know how much of it's true. So at this point, still going to run with it.
Right.
Everybody loves Cthulhu.
Come on.
Her brows are looking hot, dude. I need brows like that. Shoot. Jealous.
I wanted them to be menacing.
And they definitely are, because you can tell even though she looks like she's sitting there relaxed, there's a tension here. She's like, I like that.
Oh, dang it. Sometimes these controls are a little too loose.
Let's see. I did a my own party watch of this, and so I'm going to say hi to Tom Hutchison. I'm going to say hi to Pops, who's on here, and thought Shank a bitch was hilarious, by the way. So thank you for finding my stupid joke funny. Appreciated. David Whalen, Leo, Brianne, and John. Thank you guys all for tuning in. I appreciate it. This time I made sure to actually share it.
No problem. All right, Daniel says, I'm with Mike on this one. Not the biggest horror fan. Give me psychological chills and atmosphere, not the jump scare trend. Haley says, Mike, I'm a big chicken, but I still play horror games and listen to horror entertainment. So you're not that big of a chicken. You can face your fears. I cannot.
Well, see, I think people who are like, they say that they're scared or whatever, like the endorphins that you get from watching horror films, that's why people watch them. So if you're scared of them, but you still watch them, I mean, I'm actually kind of jealous. I honestly rarely ever get scared. I think the last time, what was the last movie that scared me? I'm trying to think. I think there was a point in Hereditary that didn't necessarily scare me, but it actually, no, it did. Oh my gosh, yes. Okay, I remember now. So the movie Hereditary was the last movie that scared me. There's a scene. I mean, the movie's been out for years. If you haven't seen it, I'm sorry if I'm spoiling something for you, but it's happening.
Wait. Hold on. Even though it's not comic, it's not about the actual book. Where is it? There it is. Hold on. I told you we've upgraded since last time.
Oh my god. This is so fun. I'm going to be on every week. I'm just going to start crashing your party.
I will send you a link every week. You just come on when you want to.
Awesome. But yeah, so there's a scene in Hereditary where Toni Colletti's character just is essentially like up in the corner of it, like the way that the lighting is in the room. She's up in the corner of her son's room, and he's like looking around because he's like, something seems really weird. And then, so they do a close up on him, and then she starts swimming through the air behind him, like flying, but it's like she's swimming, and it's just, the movement is creepy. The whole thing is just like really, really creepy. And it didn't bother me, when I first saw it. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, that was a little creepy, but whatever. But I mean, for I think 2 nights after I saw Hereditary, I kept thinking that Toni Colletti's creepy ass character was going to start swimming across my room when I wasn't paying attention. And so, yeah, that was the last time I got scared. I honestly, it's sad. Like, nothing is really scary anymore. I wish it, I mean, other than real life, because honestly, real life is scarier than fiction. In my opinion, like, let's be real. We've seen the world this year. It's scarier than fiction.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, cannot deny that.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to figure out what that is.
Oh, you'll see. You'll know soon enough.
Got it. Oh my God, Mike, I love this. I love that, we've both kind of come out of our comfort zones for each other. I think, no, really, I really do. I think that this is part of what makes artists better, artists and writers better, is having people that are like, hey, I think that you could do this, even though it's not your normal thing, and kind of just coaxing it out of each other. I think that's what we've done here. You coax the superhero out of me, and I'm making some, well, you're making the art, but you never would have drawn something this creepy had it not been for me.
No, I would not have.
Oh my God, I love it. But it's good. We should challenge each other to kind of step outside of like where we feel comfortable, because that's the only way we can grow as
Yeah.
artists and writers and musicians or whatever you are. I hope that I can continue to keep growing, and I'm really glad to be working on Vigilance, because I can only see myself growing further, as I write, more scripts for that. So I'm really excited and thankful that you weren't freaked out by how freaked out I was when I was talking about it at first.
Oh yeah, no.
I was so nervous. It's like I think about it, I'm like embarrassed now.
Yeah,
I'm
well,
like, Mike saw me at my worst. Oh,
I've absolutely been freaked out by things as well. So I knew definitely where you were coming from. But then, knowing you, having talked to you, had conversations with you, talked about comics in general, and then reading your work and stuff, like I just felt it was in your wheelhouse and it was possible. And if you weren't comfortable with it, like that, I would be there to help you as much as possible. Because I do superhero comics or whatnot, but I knew you had an important element that you can add to it as a writer that would, bring some life to the character.
well, and I think that this is why collaborations are so important. And like I said, again, working on things that might not necessarily be in your wheelhouse or whatever, but like collaborate with people, even if it's just to like write like a 1-page thing with a 1-page piece of art. Work on things that challenge the realm of what you think is possible for yourself. And I mean, the only thing that's going to come of it is that you grow and you learn. And oh my gosh, my dogs, sorry.
Oh, you're fine.
I have 3 of them, just in case people out there don't know. I mean, I'm sure anybody who is a Facebook friend knows I have 3, because I post photos all the time.
Oh no, I did not know. I thought you only had 2 of them.
Yep. Actually, I just made up the dogs. It's just me barking. That's what it is. Oh, good. They're going outside. Yay. Which means they'll bark out there and nobody will be able to hear it. So yay. But yeah, I'm loving this, dude. I think you are, like I said, in my earlier post, I love your enthusiasm and your energy. And your heart is so sweet. And I'm one of those people who's like a sucker for like a good heart, like I see that and I'm like, we're kindred spirits. Let's hug everyone all the time, and like, I just really love how positive you are and how you put like your heart and soul into your work, and you're always uplifting other people too, which is so important in this community. If we see something that we think is good, we should always uplift each other and encourage each other. And I love that you do that.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I really do love comic books and working with creatives and stuff like that. And I think, once you find a thing that you really enjoy for a living, you should dive into that all the way.
Absolutely. And, it's funny because we talk about, comics for a living, and it's like, I always wonder, because I've heard so many things from so many different people about like their ROI and like all that. And I'm like, you don't start working in comics because you think you're going to get rich. Like,
Right.
And if you think you're going to get rich off comics, yep.
Yeah. That was it. That explains it right there.
Well, and like nowadays, I know that a lot of even a lot of the indie publishers have agents that work with getting the comics that they publish shopped out to like Netflix and other places to get them put on TV or whatever, which is great. And you definitely hook up with the publishing companies that do that kind of stuff, because that's cool. Like if you can get your work made into a series or whatever. But I think that there's so many different great series out there, or great, graphic novels, that just don't rely on that. Like people are always like, I'm going to write this comic and then it's going to get made into a movie and I'm going to get that Blade money. And I'm like, no, you're not. No, you're not.
I love that you said that, Blade money.
I mean, I watched Blade a lot, so I feel like it's an accurate statement.
That's what's up.
Yeah. I mean, A, I've always had a crush on Wesley Snipes, and B, it's a vampire movie. Come on.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Like right now, like I'm watching Priest again. And I was like, man, this movie's old, but it's pretty cool still, man. I like the concept of it and stuff. And these vampires are legit messed up. Like there's some room, like some situations, like yeah, I could rock with that vampire, like a Tom Cruise vampire from back in the day. Like I can rock with them because you know they got some sense. You could have a conversation. I may be able to walk out of this unscathed. Like, can you suck some blood, but not enough to kill me or turn me? Like I can give you a pint. Like I might be able to work it. But these vampires and priests ain't no talking to them. Straight rabid animals, vicious. They're like velociraptors.
I'm like, I know I've seen that movie, but I it's one of those movies that I know I saw, but I can't really recall a lot of it. So I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch it now that it's on Netflix because it keeps showing up in my Netflix queue. Or not queue, but like under horror, obviously, since I'm doing that podcast every night, I'm like looking, okay, what am I watching tonight? I have to watch 4 movies a week. I have to watch them. And okay, so do you think, I've got a question for you, Mike. Do you think Tremors is a horror movie?
No, I think Tremors is a fucking comedy.
Right?
I love it. I can watch stuff like that. But I'm also the type of person I like watching bad sci-fi movies. I don't think Tremors is a horror movie at all because the creature's way too big. It's not quiet. It's all based off of sound. But like, no, it's definitely not in the same category of like a Jason or Freddy Krueger or something like that.
Right. Well, so Netflix has all of them in the horror section. And I'm like, okay, I love Tremors. Like the first one, all the sequels, don't get me wrong. They're hilarious and they're a great time. I enjoy them. But I come on, Netflix.
Yeah.
Come on. That's piss poor. They're full of crap. Comedy. Put it in the comedy section. Or they could always do like a monster section. Because I mean, that would work. There are definitely monsters in there. So, I don't know. But I thought it was funny that I saw like 3 or 4 sequels in a row on there. And I'm like, ooh, they're not horror movies. Why do you do this to me, Netflix?
Yeah, they're not. That's just lazy organization.
Mm-hmm. Or whatever they use for their algorithm. And I'm like, what did I watch that made these show up?
Mm-hmm.
How did this happen? Oh my gosh, I love this.
Let's see, where's the? There it is. All right, there she is. Let me see if I can turn it around some, get a better view of it. But there she goes in all her glory. She's got your boy on the chain.
I absolutely love this. Oh my gosh. I love the last one you did too, but like this is so Isabel. This is her. You captured it perfectly. Look at you, you talented genius.
Well, thank you very much.
Right.
Like I said, you come on the show, and I know I'm doing different type of characters, and that's my whole thing, man. I want to capture everybody's characters as best as I can. In the best light that I can or whatnot, form or whatnot. Because at the end of the day, this is a free art piece for you to do whatever it is that you want to do with it or whatnot. So let's see here.
Can I marry it? Is that allowed? Like,
hey, it is 2020. You can do what you want.
I mean, people are trying to marry like body pillows and stuff, so I feel like it's legit, right?
Yeah, those body pillows is out here. They out here in these streets.
They are.
Jay says you had said that you wasn't the biggest fan of slasher movies, but there has been a major decline in slasher movies, and most horror movies now are demonic and ghost spirits. I like a variety, but a couple of years there was only spirit demonic movies. It was overkill. Yeah.
Oh, I agree.
Hmm.
100% agree. I think horror comes in waves. Again, the 80s were big on like slashers, but there was also quite a few demonic movies, but that started in the 70s. I mean, I'm going to do a show for a shot of history, like the history of tropes in horror. And when I do that, I'll let you know, because I could talk about that all day. So I'm going to shut up now, but I agree with you. I think that it's the ebb and flow of horror, and what they're thinking is selling at the time that they make so much of it, it floods the market, and it just ruins you on it, which is why I'm over zombies. So
I'm done with zombies too, man. Like
so over it.
I was real upset at Walking Dead because they had the nerve not to finish their season. Like the season finale did not happen because of COVID. And I'm like, all y'all got is one job. Y'all take a whole season break for 3 months, mid-season break. Y'all ain't got this done yet? Like, are you serious? You took 3 months off to stretch it out. All it is CGI. And I know y'all cracking the whip. I know y'all got these people working ungodly hours and whatnot. And a lot of this stuff that you're doing now can be done at home. Shoot. If I remember my behind the scenes features of Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson shot one of the scenes for Lord of the Rings in his doorway, and they just CGI'd out everything else.
That makes a lot of sense. And yes, I agree with you.
Like, I don't even understand that, man. Like, how are y'all not done with this show? So, and then didn't give a date. Just said it's not happening. And then, like, just when I was getting right back into The Walking Dead, the actual, TV show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the comics were cool. I watched the TV show for like 5 years, and then I was so tired of zombies.
Yeah, I think now would be a great time for you to come back to it, man, because, where'd you come from, buddy? Aw. Now I got to do some surgery. I think now would be a really good time to come back to it. For whatever they're doing, Daryl on Walking Dead has been everything Wolverine should have been in the first 3 X-Men movies. It's freaking crazy. He is their Wolverine, and I'm loving every moment of it. But go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, everybody loves Daryl. He's been amazing pretty much mostly from day one. If Daryl dies, we riot, right? So
Yeah.
That was a hashtag for a long time, and I'm glad to hear he's still alive, because I wouldn't know.
Yeah, because I absolutely would be like, this last season has been really, really good. Like, really good. And I didn't think it would survive without Rick being on the show, but it has. Now don't get me wrong, I do want my episode when Rick comes back. So I definitely do want to see that. But these new stories that we're crafting, and Robert Kirkman getting to go in a different direction with the narrative here, with different choices and different options as a writer, like, it creates a suspense. Like, damn, they lost Rick, but they don't know he's alive. And like, look at all these choices they make without Rick being there. Oh my God, Rick wouldn't do that. Take it back.
Well, I'm probably going to go back like once the series is completely done, and I'll watch it. But I couldn't. Well, I mean, eventually it has to end, right?
From the way that, and they may be just talking junk, but AMC says they have like the next 10 years of it planned. And then they have another spinoff coming out this year from it. And then the other spinoff that's going on right now. This show. And that's kind of like the thing. The show doesn't really have an end point, because the zombies are they're the weather. They're not we're not concerned about. We know how to fight zombies now, but it is up there. I'm a little mad just because they didn't finish that season finale, and we're hanging here through COVID.
Well, a lot of things got shut down, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
We just have to take it all with a grain of salt and just be thankful for our health and, just keep on keeping on. I know it's kind of corny, but like, that's all we can do, right? Like,
No, you're right. That's
that's
all we
it.
got.
We can only do what we can do. And right now, that's mostly Zoom chats and staying at home.
Yeah, you're right. Man, 'cause Zoom has been getting a lot out of COVID.
Oh yeah. I mean, I actually paid money to them for like the last 3 months so that I could use unlimited time on Zoom.
Yeah, it's got so many good features, man. So many.
I don't know how to use really any of them. So I got it, and I just use it to see my friends' beautiful faces from across the country. So we do what we do.
I dig it. I would definitely go in exploring with it because there is a lot of cool things you can do with Zoom, especially since you're paying for it.
Maybe that's what I'll do tonight because I have no plans after this. So
Let's see here. Now, remember, everybody, we are here promoting this young lady's Kickstarter. It is in the comments, and it is tickering across the bottom of the screen at the bottom. She's sitting at $2,422 with 101 backers at 14 days to go. Her goal was $2,000. Now, let me tell you, you're probably like, well, Mike, why would I want to donate more money? She's got her money. Well, number one, there's stretch goals. All right. Number two, somebody may fall off. They may have donated some money, but when we come to strike that card at midnight on the end of the day, they may not have the funds in there, and she still needs this money to get through. Number three, she's fucking awesome. Why not give her the money? I don't know, because she's cool. How about that?
Oh my God, I love you so much, Mike.
But, whatever else she wants to do, because this is helping her get this book done, right? But she's an independent. She's a creator. She's doing this stuff on her own. The more money she gets, the more money she can invest into making more books. We're getting the 3rd issue of this book with this. Now, let's say she gets $5,000 in this Kickstarter in the last 14 days. Well, that potentially can give us the next issue of this book already signed, sealed, and delivered and covered. Or that can go to another project that she works on. That's the point of Kickstarter. And
yep. And I don't abuse the funds that I get. It literally all goes to the production of books. That's it. Well, and printing, but
yeah.
I don't pocket any money. This is to pay my creators to make the books and to be able to fund like printing and shipping and all of that stuff. So yeah, I'm doing my thing, and I appreciate all of you guys for supporting. And we got funded in like 5 days, so that was really cool. And I appreciate people like Mike letting me come on their show and talk about it. So woohoo!
Because you're awesome, like I said. So, and if you guys can't donate, that's okay. Just go ahead and share it. Or give her positive words of encouragement. No one's ever said that on the show before. Just say, hey I believe in you.
That, like I said, I do believe that sending positivity to people works. I really do. Like, I can feel it when somebody's thinking of me. They're like, oh, that's Stephanie. She's not too bad. I'm like, ah. And then my heart gets fuller. So, I love it.
And then we're going to select that. Man, did I ever mention how much I enjoy the iPad? Because I do. I enjoy it a lot. Where's here's. All right, so we got my little signature there. And now here we are. Hey, Steffi, tell everybody where they can find you at. Let them know.
Well, the best place to find me is at www.stephaniemenard.com. Everything on there links up to where you can buy all my stuff. And I don't really post on there very often. So if you are interested in like connecting and having conversations, hit me up on Facebook, Stephanie Menard. Very simple.
All right. Awesome. Well, I am Mike Watson. You can follow me on social media as Art of Mike Watson. I do a little show called The Good, the Bad, and the Nerdy with my adjunct partner Christina, and we are on Facebook as Good Bad Nerd. Join into us, to help us with our discussions and things like that. Chat and draw. If you are creative, such like Stephanie here, and you want to get on the show, all you have to do is go to the Short Fuse mediagroup.com website, and we have 2 items that you can purchase there, whether you want a digital black and white or color, to get you instantly on the show. If you're a fan who wants to join on the show and just want to get a really kick-ass commission and talk about characters that you love, you can join my Patreon page for that as well, and then we can get you featured on the show. Now, I make comics as well. I do that. I do a bit of the comics. Like I said, Stephanie's writing one of our comics right here. And where's my banners at? Oh, here's the website.
Get them up. There we go.
shortfusemediagroup.com for our comic books. Buy the physical copies of those books, and you will get the digital copies of the books for free. Now, just to give you, because we've talked about it for a bit here. Let me see if I can find the proper one. I think this is it. No, it's not. I was so organized up until this moment.
Oh, I distracted you. It's my fault. I'll take the blame.
It's not. I'm the guy here. I'm in the chair. I've been doing this for a while now. All right, here they go. Here's the comics. We got Hot Shot. It's an ongoing comic book series. We're 10 issues in. I'm drawing the technically 11th issue right now. It's a young man in college trying to prove to his girlfriend that he's not cheating on her without revealing he's a superhero. Vigilance. Vigilance is the world's strongest superhero. She works for the government full-time with no secret identity, but she has amnesia, and she's starting to realize the government's lying to her about who she really is. Heroes International. They are just like your X-Men or your Avengers. There are our world's premier superhero team, with one key exception. They suck.
They're a hot mess. I love it, though. Love
A hot
it.
mess. Emerald Quest, which you're going to be able to catch real soon, because we just finished. We're wrapping up the 3rd issue of that right now. But think X-Men, Lord of the Rings, and Game of Thrones in one book with a bunch of kick-ass women in it. If you order any of the books, Heroes International, Vigilance, and Hot Shot. Hot Shot's at 10 issues. Vigilance is at 3. Heroes is at 3. Go to the Short Fuse website and use code 321DRAW ! You will get free shipping. Technically, it's not free. I'm going to cover the shipping for you, and you get to get those books. So go ahead and check that out and tell me if you like them or not. I like good feedback and bad feedback, so I enjoy having those conversations. So I want to say thank you to Stephanie for being on the show. This has been a great episode. Had a complete blast on her. Had a complete blast on here.
Same. Thank you, for having me on again. I really appreciate it, and I had a lot of fun.
Well, I saw you had a Kickstarter, and we want to help. So I figured that'd be a good opportunity to get you on here.
You're so sweet. See that big heart.
Hey, it's hard out here for comic book people, so we want to do as much as we possibly can for them. So everybody, make sure you check out our Kickstarter. The Stephanie edition of Vigilance is coming very soon. It is in the works right now. Oh, Stephanie, I got to show you this big ass bear. Hold up, let me get that off. Let me get that up here. All right, so I just watched this trailer, and I thought this movie would be right up Stephanie's alley.
Oh my god! Oh, I'm so excited. Yes.
Yeah. So that's the bear up in the corner. You see it? And this is the person jumping off the cliff.
No.
That's the bear. That's its mouth.
Dude, I'm watching this as soon as we get off of here. This is happening.
So the thing with this is it's called Fear of the Woods. And the thing with this is there's no CGI. This is all an animatronic bear, Muppet, puppet, all that stuff. No CGI at all on this thing. And it looks crazy. Crazy.
I am all in for that. All in.
All right. So, wait. I got to get this up on the Google Drive for you. And then I will send you the link so you can keep it.
Sorry, I don't understand.
I didn't tell you to do anything, Android. All right. So everybody, thank you. Please give my YouTube page a follow. Give me a follow on whatever the hell I was saying in here. Just follow it. Replay it. You'll see it. And I'm going to close out with, what kind of branding do I have to close out with? We'll do the round of applause.